For decades, Sri Lanka has powered its future on borrowed fuel, borrowed time. The cost has never been higher. But across this island, something is shifting. Clean, quiet, unstoppable. Sri Lanka's clean energy future is already beginning. Imagine every vehicle on Sri Lanka's roads running clean. Every car, every bus, every tuk-tuk, powered by electricity. Electric mobility isn't a distant dream. It is happening right now. But mobility needs a backbone, a nationwide network of charging infrastructure from Colombo to Kandy, connecting every corner of this island. This transition isn't just about technology, it's about the family choosing a cleaner commute, the engineer designing tomorrow's grid, the child who will inherit the world we build today. This is why it matters. Today, Sri Lanka's leading engineers, policymakers and industry pioneers gather at one table to ask the hard questions, to find the real answers and to drive the change. Driving change, powering Sri Lanka's clean energy transition. The National Roundtable on Electric Mobility, Charging Infrastructure and Energy Storage for a Resilient Future. Welcome.
Mr. Hasit Premathilaka, Managing Director of Haley's Fenton Group, an experienced electrical engineer from the University of Moratuwa with over 2 decades of leadership. Mr. Premathilaka is a key visionary in driving large-scale engineering excellence and sustainable industrial growth through solar power and electric mobility.
Mr. Guido Brugerman, International Urban Transport Expert, an urban transport veteran whose work has shaped large-scale investment programs globally, including the roles at the EBRD and GVM Amsterdam. He now drives innovation in public transport systems across Asia and the Middle East, focusing on the critical policies behind sustainable transport ecosystems.
To moderate this prestigious gathering, we are honored to welcome Professor Asanka Rodrigo from the Department of Electrical Engineering at the University of Moratuwa.
A former Director General of the Sri Lanka Sustainable Energy Authority, Professor Rodrigo possesses extensive expertise in power system reliability and renewable energy grid integration. He currently chairs the Board of Studies for Research Degrees at the Faculty of Engineering and is a former chair of the IEEE Power and Energy Society, Sri Lanka section. His leadership in power systems makes him the ideal catalyst for today's dialogue.
Ladies and gentlemen, Please join us in welcoming this assembly of brilliance with a warm round of applause as they take their places for the roundtable discussion.
Professor Rodrigo, we now kindly invite you to take the chair and commence the discussion. We look forward to your guidance as you lead our distinguished panel through the technical insights and practical solutions that will define the future of Sri Lanka's clean energy landscape.
Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for the roundtable discussion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So first of all, I would like to thank the EESoc organizing committee for selecting me as the moderator, so that as usual, even last year I moderated, where just after the power cut or the blackout in Sri Lanka, we conduct a roundtable conference about how to prevent against this power cut. And similarly, now we are in a very crucial point where we are in the transition, energy transition. With the energy transition, today the EESoc they decided to talk about the timely important topic which talk about the electric mobility, charging infrastructure and energy storage. Yes. So that as electrical engineering department, always we are forefront of giving policy directives as well as the technical support where in these type of transitions are happening. So that if we give a basic background, obviously in few years back, even I think if I remember, just before the COVID period, we also talk about the electric mobility, and where we had an ambition target of how to convert the mobility into electricity in that roundtable conference. But now in 2026, okay, it has become reality. Now you can see we are getting a lot of the electric mobility within Sri Lanka, and also in parallel with the electric mobility, we are also moving towards the more and more renewable energy integration into our grid, and also now we are moving towards the battery energy storages as well. So that by looking at all of them, the topic where the EESoc selected this, the electric mobility, charging infrastructure and the energy storage is very, very timely important topic which we can discuss about how to manage this system. So if you look at the electric mobility, I just went through the data, and it is found that at the moment we have over more than 60 EVs and the hybrid vehicles in Sri Lanka, and out of that now in these days it is reported that we are registering about more than 300 electric vehicles per month. So in Sri Lanka, just after this relaxation of the imports, so a lot of people are now moving towards the electric vehicle. And also in the same time, we are talking about 70% renewable energy by 70% of energy by renewable energy, and we were targeting of 70% of renewable energy by 2030. But now it is reported that even some days we are reaching more than 70% renewable energy, even in 2026. So that now whatever things we targeted in 2030 is achieving now. But at the same time, okay, I think you all got to know that the CEB first time in the history, the publisher tender for inviting people to join with the energy storages for 160 megawatt and the 540 megawatt hours battery energy, grid connected battery energy storage. So that is the first time in our history supporting our grid to manage the grid. So that likewise, when you look at our situation, so that it's changing, rapidly changing, and whatever the changes we expected are now happening in front of us. So that's why we have to look at so that how to manage this one. Now with the large amount of variable renewable energy and the electric mobility connecting a lot of EVs to the national grid, and most of them now charging in the night time, we are making our peak demand the much more higher than what we were expected, and also the connecting a lot of solar during the daytime. Now our system controllers are complaining that the generation is going more than the demand, and some days they are going with the curtailment. Likewise, our system is becoming much more complicated. And also in the meantime, we have seen that a lot of the charging infrastructures are also developing in Sri Lanka, and mostly in the western province and the other urban areas. But if you go to some the urban areas, we cannot even see any of the infrastructure. So that then that will also make a certain type of the difficulty, where even though we are planning to convert the energy infrastructure from fossil fuel based technology to the more cleaner and green technology, that will make a certain hurdle where how to penetrate that one, because if you look at our fossil fuel consumption, mainly coming from fossil fuels are used mainly for the mobility. So that if you want to reduce that fossil fuel usage for the mobility, so that we have to, alternative option is to go for a electric vehicle. So that with those background, we have selected a very eminent panelists to discuss different aspects, and starting with the electric, the mobility and also the electric infrastructure, we have selected one of the key pioneer in Sri Lanka in the electric mobility and the electric vehicle and the electric infrastructure. So that the Bishan is the ideal person. He is a pioneer in this the sector. So that I would like to invite Bishan to start our discussion by giving your thoughts about how you started this journey, and what is the current situation and how we can move forward with this electric mobility. Over to you, Bishan. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, chief guest, and the organizers and this wonderful panel. Thank you for having me. It's a real privilege to be here and discuss something that I'm passionately interested in, and a team of engineers from these prestigious universities working towards enabling EV charging in Sri Lanka. If we were to talk about this topic exactly 2 weeks ago, before the sudden war with Iran, we would think that this is not a big priority. There's enough fuel, there's enough oil, and everybody is happy with some electric vehicles and a whole majority of fuel-based vehicles, right? But things have changed suddenly, and it has reminded us, and Mr. Hasid also mentioned this to me in the morning when we met, that suddenly things have changed, and we are now back on focus on electric vehicles and how to power mobility without the influence of these other geographic problems around the world. So if you look at the EV infrastructure in Sri Lanka today, I'll give you some basic statistics just to set the course so you understand where we are at the moment. We have about 60,500 electric vehicles that are electric and hybrid. Now don't take this number just as a number of electric vehicles. It's also the electric vehicles are also the electric scooters and the three-wheelers as well. There are about 30,000 of the electric scooters that are already in the island. So in terms of mass movement into electrics, the two-wheeler section has gone way beyond projections. to enable the mass movement into electrics. And they have no public infrastructure at the moment to charge their scooters, although they have the largest numbers at the moment. So in terms of fast charging ports, there are about 159 or maybe 160 CCS2 based charge stations at the moment, and about 16 times growth since 2024 if you compare the electric scooter market. So moving on, the breakdown looks like this: 34,000 e-scooters or e-motorcycles, about 18,000 petrol hybrid vehicles, pure electrics about 7,200, and about 373 electric three-wheelers. This is the breakdown from 2025. Just for this year, for the last year, these are the numbers. We already had about, I would say about 9,000 or so electric vehicles before all those Nissan Leafs and the previous generation vehicles. So if you add that up, we have about, I would say about 20,000 or so electric cars and SUVs that are out on the road. So just when the market opened from the February sort of time frame last year, we had a peak around August, September. October and November was a little bit of a lull. There was the whole customs issue that slowed things down, but the market picked up in December, and I would anticipate a similar market for the January of this year as well. The motorcycles are the mass market at the moment. Sometimes when we talk about electric vehicles, we forget all of the bikes that are out there, the motorbikes, but they are part of the essential fabric of transportation, the last mile transportation of a lot of our citizens. So this is also an important factor. And you can see the number of electric motorbikes in the previous years were very, very low, but suddenly there is a rise in 2025. If you look at the charging network at the moment, it looks like this. This data is from an app called EV5. I don't know if the owner is here today, but this is a concatenation of all of the different charging networks that are out there that is currently operating in Sri Lanka. Volcharge, ChargeNet, eMotion, Green EV, all of these other vendors out there. So to get to this point, we have been working in this sector for the last 13 years or so to make sure that we get to this point. So this was not an easy task. We first started with EV chargers in 2016, 2017, I think. When we were at Vega, we started ChargeNet, and things had been very, very slow. But in the last 12 months, it just accelerated to a point where we are installing one fast charger every day, where we used to install one fast charger every month or so and wait for the market to pick up. We are now manufacturing them at scale and installing them at scale, and also the essential service and maintenance also at scale. So this is not a random thing that suddenly popped up. This was years of work to get to this point, to make sure we have a charging network that is not just installed and forgotten, but installed and maintained, serviced, and the customers are completely enabled to charge and sort out their problems. Right now, our own app, we get about 2,000 customers on board per month. Right now, we are around at 12,000, 13,000 users. So there is a massive movement in terms of people using the EV charging infrastructure, people driving electric vehicles, and also getting into them as well. Yeah. So if you look at the total number, 82 chargers are in the Western province, and the other provinces are much, much lower. I might be running out of time, but so that's the CCS2 charging ports, and this is a map of the ChargeMo. If you are new to this sector, there are two major protocols for EV fast charging, the CCS2 port and the ChargeMore port. The old Nissan Leafs and some of the Japanese vehicles and a few other brands as well, they use the ChargeMore, but majority of the newer vehicles are now using the CCS2 port. In terms of coverage, we have about 380 EVs registered in 2025 for every CCS2 fast charger port. So if you look at the number of vehicles per port for fast charging, it's about 380. That's a huge number. Just imagine if everybody wants to fast charge at one given point, there would be 380 people line up at each fast charging station. So this is not a number that is healthy. We need to work much faster to enable a much larger network so that this number can come down. 52% of the chargers are in the Western Province, and right now we maybe have one or two, but there are almost no fast charging systems in the Eastern Province. This is something that we are working on really hard. Like I said, 380 fast chargers per CCS2 port at the moment. And the motorcycles are not covered at all in this sector, so we are working with various corporates to see how to enable scooter-based charging ports in their locations to make sure that the motorbike, the customers are also part of this ecosystem and not that they are forgotten. We have also, through the years, worked to ensure that we have dual connector chargers at most of our stations so that the older ChargeMore customers are also not forgotten. Because if the market is to flourish, we have to make sure that the older generation vehicles can still charge and their vehicles will have a second-hand value, right? Whereas if the charging network doesn't support them, they will not be able to sell their cars and the entire market will get hurt. Even the newer vehicles, people will anticipate that their vehicles will not have a value if the charging systems are not there. So this is a complete ecosystem, right? The cars and the chargers have to go hand in hand. We are working with the importers, the agents of these vehicles to make sure that they also invest in the charging network because it is a must for them, must for their customers to make sure that their vehicles are supported in the long run. So this is some of the basic statistics and summaries. So we'll talk more, and I'll give the floor back to Professor Asanka. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishan. Starting the floor by giving statistics about the EV infrastructure in Sri Lanka. And next we are moving to now, if you look at the EV infrastructure, again, it's a load connected to the national grid, and that load again creates an additional unexpected type of the demand to the national grid. At the same time, as I explained in my introduction part, we are getting more and more variable renewable energy. Now, in the night time, most of these EV, the owners are going and plugging their EVs other than the fast chargers are available in other locations, so that most of them, they use even domestic chargers and charge them during the night time. And that will create a certain the instability in our network, so that in order to talk about how we should get ready with this fast infrastructure development with the EV as well as the fast growing renewable energy integration in our network, so that we have selected the correct person, where he is the director of the system control, the NSO, National System Operator, so that Mr. Buddhika Samarasinghe, so that I will invite Mr. Buddhika to give an overview about how he is planning to manage our national grid with these new challenges.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Asanka. I will do a small presentation. I think it may take around 15 minutes, but that will be the foundation for everyone to talk about the EV concept. And first thing, I want to give some basic remark. Now, from yesterday onwards, we are not in CEV. That means I am representing the National System Operator, and our post names, designations also changed. Previously, Deputy General Manager, now Director, System Control Center. And also, I want to give two values. I think yesterday was the highest peak, night peak, recorded peak. It's 3,040 megawatt. And 2025, we had 60.7% of renewable energy contribution. That means, that's for the 2025 year. That means out of total energy, 60.7 contributed through the renewable energy sources. Our target is by 2030, 70%. Okay, now this may be our future grid management system. We will have our main National System Control Center and the Distribution Control Center, and with our futuristic renewable energy management systems, all our controls we are taking through the National System Control Center or the Distribution Control Center. I am not reading everything because it may take more than 1 hour. I will highlight the basic thing, but you can ask any questions during the Q&A session. My main thing is, now we are our primary objective, because now the 70% target is there. Our primary objective now is to integrate the more renewable energy into the network, but we have to enhance our energy security through the renewable energy, but also the dependency on the fossil fuel. But our main thing is we have to ensure the stable grid. Now that's the main thing I want to mention. Since I am representing the National System Control Center, it's the core branch. It connects all the generation, and we do the real-time demand balancing. And also, other main thing I want to highlight, although we are talking about the revenue collection about 500, 600 billion through the tariff, out of that more than 60, 70% equivalent we have to pay as a energy cost. Now that part mainly handled by the system control operation. That means the real-time operation. Now your electricity bill also it contributes more than 70 to 80% of by the energy cost. That means that part mainly handled through the system control dispatch operation. Now our main functions are real-time system monitoring, generation dispatch and commitment, frequency and voltage stability. Now that is very critical thing. There are a lot of variations I will show. Then transmission network coordination, renewable energy integration. Now previously we had only we talk about hydrothermal coordination, but now the concept is completely different. Now hydrothermal renewable coordination, because hydro also a renewable power plant. Here I am, hydro means it's the major hydros. Now this is our present capacity. Now I have updated up to the 1st March. Oh, sorry. Now here also I changed, because yesterday onwards we are not talking about CB power plants. All the power plants belongs to the Electricity Generation Lanka Private Limited. Because of that, I mentioned as EGL, because EGL is the Electricity Generation Lanka Limited, because those power plants belong to the CEV previously. And still we are having our complexes, then the thermal complex, wind park, then the IPP thermal plants. I think those both belongs to the LTL holdings. That means the Yugadanavi and Sobadanavi. Then we are having grid network, then some coupling points, then the distribution regions. Now distribution regions we call as Electricity Distribution Lanka Private Limited and the LECO. And this is the interesting thing I want to show. This is our installed capacity. It's around 7,180 megawatt. Now you may think Yesterday I am mentioning my capacity is 3040. Then if you look at the capacity, I am having 7180 megawatt. That means almost double capacity I am having, but that's not the truth. Because out of that, 3524, it's the rooftop NCRE, that means non-conventional renewable energy. Out of that, 2,361, because as at today, it's around 2,360 rooftop solar PV systems are there. That means all rooftop solar, okay, we can't control or we can't monitor. But there is some observability that also I will show. Now that means this out of 7,180, almost 50% capacity contribution is beyond our National Systems Control Center control. And you can see this is the typical solar roof addition. You can see it's a huge exponential growth. This is based on the months, not the years, okay? That means from 2023 January, it's around 600, but now today, almost within 2 years, it's a very good successful achievement by the rooftop solar developers. That we have to appreciate that one. And this is the contribution. It's like an exponential growth, okay? And this is a typical Sri Lankan demand curve. I will explain the details because what are the main operational challenges, but now you can see this is the contribution from the rooftop solar. And this is the contribution from our dispatchable power plants. I will use another slide later to explain more. And here also I am not explaining everything. Our traditional, now everyone is talking about what do you mean by the transition for our Sri Lankan power system. Now our traditional system, mainly we have a predictable hydro system. That means most of the hydros are reservoir-based hydros. Then we are having thermal-based. But now majority is from the solar and wind. In future, we will have the battery energy storage systems and also a smart grid solutions, lot of things. Then what are our main operational challenges? Now here we have to find a solution to overcome these challenges through the EV charging as well. That means EV is a load in some, that means it will be a load to our national grid. Then how do we place that load for the charging? That's the most important thing to overcome our present challenges. Now that's the thing I want to focus. Main thing is the minimum load challenge operations. Now previously only public holidays and Sundays we curtail the renewable energy, but now most of the time during the weekdays also we are curtailing. Now with this increasing renewable energy penetration into the grid, we are having huge issue about keeping the inertia, sufficient inertia into the system. That means now every day when we operate the system, we have to be very careful how to keep the sufficient inertia through the dispatchable generation power plants. Then that will lead to a stability risk. Now, last week also systems almost collapsed, 47.73, but system recovered. Luckily, it's daytime, around 12 o'clock, okay? But system recovered. We look at the system control center, we thought, okay, how that means recovered. That also we couldn't understand, but we kept sufficient inertia in the system. Then these are the These are the operational challenges, because I am here not going every things. These are the main operational challenges we are facing at present. And I will show you some graph. Now this is the Independence Day on February 4th. You can see our daytime demand is around 795. And that time contribution from the rooftop solar is 1,450. That means it's almost 2,250 megawatt system during the daytime. We manage through the dispatchable generation around 795. Now that's the typical challenge. Then there is an excess generation also, and we have curtailed around 252 megawatt renewable energy curtail, mainly through the solar, ground-mounted solar power plants. Now that's the excess generation we have curtailed. Now this is a public holiday, and this is a Thursday. And now Thursday also, that means the weekday also. Now you can see our almost public holiday or the weekdays, our dispatchable generation is around 700, 750. If we do not curtail this one, now here it's around 175. Our dispatchable capacity is 700. If we do not curtail, that means we have to deload our power plants, then we will have a huge impact on how to keep the sufficient inertia into the system. That means, now here if we keep around 200 megawatt, that means 500 megawatt. Now, same way, we may have to face during the coming New Year as well, because last New Year we have curtailed around 700 megawatt. I think Dr. Tilak Semalapitiya was the chairman on that time. Okay? Now, this kind of situation we will come across. Okay, now we'll talk about our topic somewhat. Now, when you look at the electric mobility, that means the electric charging, that means, I am not talking about the vehicles. Now this electric vehicles means also a battery system is there. Now we are talking about to install the system level battery energy storage, but how do we use these electric vehicle batteries to overcome our concerns? Now, we think it's a load growth. Now, we also observed that one. I think this 3,040, previous day it's around 3,020, previous day around 3,000. Out of that, I think around 150 megawatt is contributed through this night time, that means the peak time charging of the EV vehicles. Now, that's a huge impact. Now, presently we are operating our diesel power plants to cater the night peak capacity. Now that means ultimately these diesel power plants are supporting to charge the electric vehicles. Now the concept of the electric vehicles introduced to a country to go for a sustainable future. Now at present we do not have that one. That means we have to find the solution to shift the charging time. Okay, that's a must. Now, mainly due to the evening home charging, because at present they do not have any tariff compensation mechanism, and also everyone feels, okay, once you go home, you can easily charge the vehicle because it is available. They are charging. Then also how to facilitate the fast charging clusters. Now, whatever these fast charging clusters means, our distribution network transformers will be fully overloaded. Then how do we cater for these fast charging clusters? Then if we go like this, that means if we keep this way move forward, there will be a huge impact to the evening peak. Now that will be a huge impact. Now let's say our daytime dispatchable generation is 700 until around 2:30. Then suddenly around 5:45, 6 o'clock, our capacity would be 3,000 megawatt. Then what kind of duck curve? It's not a duck, it's like a swan. Okay? Now we can't say it's a duck curve to the Sri Lanka. Then we are at present, what are the positive things you can look for the EV charging industry? First thing is the midday solar surplus. Now every day it is there. Now previously we thought only weekends, but now every day this midday solar surplus is there, because it will be there, because now when we look at the power plants to be commissioned, around 770 megawatt of ground-mounted solar plants will be commissioned by end of next year. That means almost around 30 to 35 megawatt of ground-mounted solar power plants are commissioned in each month. Okay, that will be added. Okay, now presently rooftop solar, it's somewhat controlled, but I am not saying it's a good thing, but that's the reality at present. Then, if we go without any control mechanism, it will have a direct impact of the evening peak, and other main thing, we have to find the method to absorb the midday solar charging. For that, I think we have to go for a time of use charging. Then we have to have a management of charging. I think Dr. Beshan, they came and have a discussion with the System Control Center. Then we requested them to provide the charging platform API to our System Control Center. Then we know what kind of charging contribution. That means that through the charging, what kind of contribution to the, or the impact to the system, that we can real-time monitor. Then vehicle to grid, now we talk about, but we can go for the other, that means presently we go as the grid to vehicle, but we can use these batteries as a vehicle to grid for the peak demand reduction and the improved renewable energy utilization and the enhanced grid stability. Now, if we do not control, what will happen? Now, normally, our system is very vulnerable. I am not telling it's a perfect, stable system. It's a very vulnerable. Now, with the higher penetration of the renewable, our frequency is deviating very rapidly. Now, we should have proper inertia support. Now, okay, maybe someone can say we can get the synthetic inertia into the system through the inverters, but we prefer still rotational machine inertia. Why? If here I am not going into the theories. Now, just see this graph. Now, this is a red one, is the inertia constant 1. That means your frequency nadir point will go beyond our specific values and it will lead to a system collapse. If we keep the system inertia around 3 seconds, the system will somewhat recover. Now that's the concept. Now we have given clear instructions to our system control engineers to keep the system inertia constant above 3 seconds. Because if the system collapses, definitely there will be a blame to our operations. Why you do not keep the sufficient inertia and lead to a system collapse, because it's a very critical. Because now with this 700 megawatt dispatchable generation, with very limited power plants, we have to keep this system inertia. Now normally we operate most of the hydro plants in very low capacities, maybe 10 megawatt. Samanalawa is 60 megawatt. We operate the 10 megawatt. Why? To keep these rotational machines in the system. And this is the frequency violations. Normally we plot every 5 seconds frequency in our system control center. Now previously our main objective is to manage the system between the 49.5 and 50.5, but now we observe the number of violations are more. Okay, now due to the variable frequency, variable renewable energy sources. And our grid scale batteries, now that's also I will come into discuss something. Why we want to go for a grid scale? I think Professor Sanka mentioned that presently we have awarded the contracts for the 160 megawatt. Now you saw my graph, we curtailed around 245 megawatt on February 4th. That means whatever the things we have awarded is not sufficient to that means stop the curtailment. That means curtailment will be more. That means we have to go for more batteries. Now, in addition to this 160 megawatt, we will call another tender for 200 megawatt. That means a small 10 megawatt scale, and another frequency supporting battery at Kolonnawa for 100 megawatt scale as well for the different purposes. Then our future grid, we will go for the digitalization and the smart grid solutions. Now, without digitalization and smart grid, we may not able to integrate more renewable, because our target is 70% by 2030. Because now you know that we have 60%, from 60 to 70% to go. Now we do not have any hydro, major hydros. That means we are having only the solar and wind. Out of that, majority will be solar. That means solar contribution plant factor is 17%. That means we have to install so many solar plants. That means the capacity-wise, huge number of solar power plants in all over the country to achieve this 70% target. Now for that, definitely, we have to go for a digitalization and smart grid technologies, then the digital system intelligence, as well as now another factor, EV is coming there. EV, we have to use it as a positive thing for the charging, and maybe through the battery, maybe some tariff mechanism or something, vehicle to grid option as well. And here, just I will give you now, everyone is talking about digitalization and what are the technologies we are using at present within the system control center. We are having all real-time planning mechanism, weather parameters. We have taken our weather forecasting systems, wind and solar systems. And this is the Australian forecast system provider, Solcast, that provide us the every 15 minutes updates of the solar forecast in different probabilities. Now here I have given a particular day. Now here the estimate is around 1801. That means now here we have incorporated all the distributed solar. That means all the, whatever the rooftop solar, once they install and commission, we are taking the GPS coordinates and the capacity, and we will update, we are updating this Solcast through their with the support of the OEM, and they are sending the API that is updating every 15 minutes interval. Then our system control engineers who carry out the real-time operation, they know indirect contribution to the system through the rooftop solar is this kind of value. It is around now 1800. Then our contribution is from 700. That means 2500 megawatt system they are operating, and inertia 3 seconds, they have to keep it through this 700 megawatt power plant. It's a huge challenge, okay? And this is our NCRE monitoring part. All the power plants above 1 megawatt we have taken into our system control center, and we have a option to real-time monitor. That means every 5 minutes intervals, all the informations we are getting, and we requested the similar platform to the EV charging as well. Then we can integrate our NCRE versus the EV charging as well. And this is the picture of our NCRE generation. Now you can see this is the ground-mounted solar contribution without the rooftop. That's also around now 300. Now at present we have 410 megawatt of ground-mounted solar power plants commissioned up to now. Another 700 to be commissioned within next 2 years. And this is our future renewable energy management system. Now we are going ahead with a complete modernization of our existing National System Control Center. And with that, we will take all the renewable energy power plants above 5 megawatt to be controlled and monitored by the System Control Center. 1 to 5 megawatt power plants, we are getting all the monitoring signals, and control will be handled by the distribution control centers. Most of the, that means almost all the rooftop solar power plants, we will take the aggregated monitoring values to the system control center through the distribution control center, and all the battery energy storage systems. Now here battery energy storage systems means system level battery energy storage systems. We will give the instructions through the system control center to at what time they have to charge and what time they have to discharge. But maybe EV charging, we have to program, because we do not have that kind of controlling. But system level batteries, we are giving the commands. And here, this is the same thing. And we now in future, there will be a huge communication network we are using to connect all these renewable energy power plants. And also, since we are connecting the external power plants, we have to go for a cyber security concerns as well. And we prefer the major power plants as a single control system, and small scale power plants as the cluster controls. That means, let's say, mana. If we have so many wind power plant, we will take the mana into a one collector substation, and through the power plant controller, that means the cluster controller, we are sending the signal. And our future grid may be a high renewable penetration, it may be a smart grid, then definitely storage integrated system, then the electric mobility will be there. Definitely, whether we accept or not, we have to do the renewable energy management as well. Then low carbon strategies, digital intelligence, and the stable and secure grid. And engineering the energy transition is not about the replacing the generation. Now that's also we have to think. Now everyone think we are having 2,500 megawatt rooftop, that would be the energy transition. That's a part of the energy transition, but how do we manage? How do you control? Now that we have to ensure. That means it is about redesigning system operations from generation to the consumer level through technology, intelligence, flexibility, and stability. Okay, thank you very much. That's my presentation. Hope we will have a Q&A session later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buddhiga, giving a very detailed overview about our system and what type of challenges you are facing. So that now we are moving to the third presentation now we discussed about the EV infrastructure, and also the Buddhiga talk about the renewable energy integration as well as the EV infrastructure, how it affect to the grid infrastructure. And we have again the representing a private sector, which is involving with even renewable energy integration and the power generation, as well as the EV infrastructure, as well as the energy storages. The representing the Haley's Fentons, we have Mr. Hasit Premathilaka, who is going to talk about the private sector perspective of this the area. So over to you, Hasit.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, Engineer Buddhiga elaborated more about the Sri Lankan perspective. So, I want to share a few statistics about the global perspective. When you see the first graph, that is the capacity mix. And the second graph shows the generation mix. In terms of the capacity, you can see solar today, this is 2024-25 statistics, it has 22% of the capacity, but the generation-wise, it's only 7%. And wind, similarly, although it's 12% capacity, generation-wise is only 8%. So total capacity is about 10 terawatts, and renewable capacity is about 50%, but generation is about 1/3. So this is where we are heading, and world is going towards renewable energy like Engineer Buddhika highlighted, and let's see where it is heading. So this is the prediction from 2025 to 2050. You can see as of today, the solar in the world is about 23% in terms of capacity, and again 7% in terms of generation. But when it predicts for 2050, solar will have about 50%, 48% of the installed capacity. And generation will be about 35%. And the wind, similarly, it will be about 22%. And generation is 21%. So this is the journey. And there will be more and more solar and wind plants adding. Right now, China is contributing to about 50% of that. So China is adding 50% of total renewable capacity every year in the world. And you can see the thermal is diminishing. Even nuclear is very stable and it's not growing fast. And hydro is also gradually growing, that what their percentage share in the total generation comes down. And I'm sure Sri Lanka also will move towards this, as Engineer Buddhika suggested. The world is moving towards more renewable energy, and that is the cheapest, lowest cost maintenance, and fastest to implement. And why not Sri Lanka? And this is very interesting. This is by the consumption. This is not electricity, this is energy. And you all know that electricity is a subset of energy. And in Sri Lanka, electricity is only 12% of the total energy consumption. And out of the 100%, majority is taken up by biomass, firewood, and other biomass, boilers, etc. And 30% goes for transportation. Like Dr. Beshan mentioned, that is the bigger fish. You can see how the world is moving. Right now, it's 19% is the electricity in the world, although it's 12% in Sri Lanka. By 2050, it's going to be about half of the total energy demand. The main reason is the topic that we are talking today is the e-mobility. So this is the e-mobility trends, again in the global perspective. So you can see 2019 to 25 how the ICE vehicle, internal combustion engine vehicles, have declined. So it has taken 92% of the total new vehicle introduction in the world, new vehicle production. And the last year, 2025, new vehicle, out of new vehicle is about 92 million vehicles introduced in the world. So only 57% is ICE vehicles, and electric, pure electric is 15%. And then the plug-in hybrid is 7%, and other HEV, hybrid electric vehicles, is 21%. So altogether is about 43%. Where does Sri Lanka stand? Like Professor earlier highlighted, it's about 400 vehicles, 300 vehicles a month is electric vehicles. The actual figure is about 4% out of 10,000 vehicles registered every month. But last year, Sri Lanka had about, 43% electric, plug-in hybrid and hybrid. Sri Lanka was on par with the world. It was 40%. Out of that, 10% was electric. And the balance 30% was hybrid and plug-in hybrid. But unfortunately, we see that the trend is changing, Beshan. For the same reason that you mentioned, it is the lack of charging infrastructure. And people have the fear of not getting charged. And one of my fellow engineers from the university, I asked him, why don't you buy one of our electric vehicles, which is cheaper? Our electric vehicle, the lowest cost only 7.5 million rupees. But he wanted to buy a gasoline, petrol vehicle for 10 million rupees. So, Machan, ඕක අරගෙන charge කරගන්න බැරි වෙලා wife පාරේ මැද හිර වුණාම මම යන්න ඕනේ ඕක අදින්න. So better to have a ICE vehicle than electric vehicle because fear of charging. So with the development of the charging infrastructure, I think that fear will go off. And there will be more and more demand. So, but what we see is it's getting stabilized, and there are more players coming into the market, like Professor highlighted. As more awareness building, more availability, we are catching up with the world. There was a big drawback. About 30% of the vehicles, says about 1/3, are below 10 million rupees. So there were not very many options at the beginning in the last year. But now we see there are many companies coming up with affordable electric vehicles to the mass market. So there are a lot of fear factors, whether there will be a second-hand market for the Chinese vehicles, because mostly it's China. So those fear factors will move away with the time when there is second-hand market developed, when there is a demand for those vehicles, that will move on. So I forgot to mention, China is having about 55% of their new energy vehicles introduced every year. And the global market, you can see, if the whole world to go for net zero by 2050, it has to be 100% usage of renewable energy. But right now, the projection is it's going to be about 85% in the future mobility infrastructure. The reason is, although we talk about 40%, 43%, 30% of new energy vehicles introduced every year, the fleet, if you look at global fleet of about 1.7, 1.8 billion vehicles, it's about 4%. Total new energy vehicles in the world today is about 60 million units. So that comprises very small percentage on the roads. So it has to be a wave that would replace the old vehicles with the new energy vehicles to have a significant percentage on the road. So you can see this is a mind-boggling figure. Right now, for the EV market, the total market size in the world is about $600 billion. It's a very small percentage compared to the world economy. This includes the vehicles, EV batteries, charging infrastructure, and other the software solutions. You all know, if you total world economy's capacity today is about $105 trillion. Out of that, this is not even $1 trillion today. But when it comes to 2050, I verified this figure 2-3 times. The world economy grows by 3 times to $300 trillion, whereas the total full EV market, including the infrastructure and the software solutions, autonomous driving, it's going to be 1/5 of the total market. So this is humongous. And there will be a lot of opportunities in this field, lot of opportunities. It's connected. It's not electric mobility. There is no electric mobility like the engineer Buddhika and Dr. Beshan mentioned, without renewable energy. So no point of charging a vehicle with a diesel power generation. Sri Lanka has gone and committed under NDCs, nationally determined contributions. You can see NDC 9, promote electric mobility and hybrid vehicles in Sri Lanka. This is the Paris Agreement, climate agreement. And see, we are going towards net zero, but there are very ambitious targets. 50% of the new road vehicles to be electric or hybrid by 2030. We are getting there. Last year it was 40%, but this year we can't say, we can extrapolate, but for the first 2 months it's only 30%. But 50% is not too far away. Like renewable energy, we have done 60% up to now, when the goal is about 4 years ahead for 70%, where it's going. Similarly, this is also happening. And 2035 to be almost 90 to 100%, and public transport also to be electrified. This is another repetition of what Engineer Buddhika mentioned. So we are already about 2,300 megawatts. So this is last year's statistics, 2024, 53%. Now, Engineer Buddhika mentioned is 60%. So we are in the right direction, but we need the right balances. And this is based on the long-term plan. I'm sure Engineer Buddhika also shares few statistics. So we have the plan this is the government plan released by Sustainable Energy Authority. We are targeting another 9 gigawatts of solar and about 2.5 to 3 gigawatts of wind and a little bit of mini hydro. And this is our potential. As a country, we have rich resources. The capacity for solar is 16 gigawatts and wind is over 100 gigawatts. It's a huge potential. And in Mannar Belt, the yield is also that much. If we go, the wind plant that we have undertaken, unfortunately we can't go beyond 110 meters height, but the latest tender is for the WTG selected was 140 meters. So they can easily go beyond 50% plant factor. So in the world, the wind plant factor averages between 30 to 40%, but whereas Mannar Belt has huge, rich wind resources, can go up to beyond 50% plant factor, which is more than the hydro plant factor. So these are some of the examples that we can learn from various developed countries. From Norway, so they have started their journey since 1990. Norway is a country rich of hydros, about 90 to 95% hydro generation. And they have given a lot of incentives and barriers for ice vehicles. Denmark is similar. And Netherlands, I checked with Mr. Guido. So he confirmed the figure. So 10 for every 1,000 citizens, there are 10 public charging stations. And Sweden, again, the electrification started with the government and commercial vehicles. Just to give you a small point, now, again, like Professor highlighted, there's a Middle East war and there's a crisis situation like what happened in 2022-23. So people are scared and we see there's a demand. So it's called blessing in disguise for us. It's good that solar market has basically saturated and gone down. Now there's a demand for hybrid solar system because people are fear about power cuts. At the same time, we see there's another trend starting. So this month we see there's an increase in demand for our commercial vehicles. Akta is here. Akta from Sri Lanka has already bought one and he's planning to buy another one. Similarly, there are a lot of other commercial entities, they are worried about this fuel shortage and they are moving into electric vehicles. So that's a good trend, provided we do the balancing of the grid and the power generation mix. Again, for grid modernization, I think Engineer Buddhika highlighted smart grids. And one other thing, the competitive bidding, reverse bidding in India, which is not happening in Sri Lanka. But our bidding also is fairly competitive. You see that we set the trend as Haley's solar, set the trend, Haley's renewable, set the trend for the lowest tariff for wind power plant. And then we are very happy to see that the market is following the same. Same thing happened for solar. Our price was criticized when we bid 15 rupees and 90 cents for our Monaragala 10 megawatt project. We were heavily criticized, you're going to ruin the market. But now we see, I'm sure Mr. Damita would have taken a few examples there to set the new tariff. The renewable energy prices are rapidly coming down. So latest wind tender went down below 12 rupees. And the recently approved EOI tariff is 15 rupees and 12 cents for solar plants. So that is a good trend that will pull the cost of energy comes down. So like Engineer Buddhika mentioned, is 60% of the generation cost. So this will help the 60% to come down, but the rest also has to be developed. Right, so with the quote, electric mobility is not just a change in the vehicles. It is the transformation of the entire energy ecosystem, linking renewable power, energy storage, smart grids, and transport into one integrated system. When it comes to 2050, remember that it's going to be 1/5 of the size of the economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hasit, for giving that the very good overview about electric e-mobility, infrastructure, e-mobility, and how we are moving forward in Sri Lanka. So now all our the three the members discussed about the situation in Sri Lanka. Now we are going to global. So that we have a very eminent the global consultant who is giving his consultation for international urban transportation systems, and even he is supporting for the Sri Lankan urban transportation policy development as well. So that we are lucky to get him in this discussion. He is none other than Guido. So that thank you very much for the accepting our invitation and coming here. It's over to you to give how the global perspective about this e-mobility and how we can adapt them, whatever the experiences to the Sri Lankan situation. Over to you, Gio.
Slide. Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Warm welcome. Thank you very much for the invitation to and be a panelist this afternoon. I made a few slides as an introduction. I see it more as a warm-up. And I start with a slide before we forget. We go back to square one. Why are we here together? Why we do it? Why we are in business? And it's an exciting business. Why we are shifting to electric mobility, and why is it so in the attention? And it starts already 10 years ago, and in particular in China, where we have seen the warming of our planet, and we see the emissions, we see the CO2. So it started already with the discussion how we can reduce our CO2 emissions, reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And you have only to look for the last 5 years. The natural disasters our planet has seen, from hurricanes in America to flooding. Flooding is nowadays everywhere. I'm a little bit older, but I'm sure it didn't happen. And we have here a cyclone, we all have seen it. And that's all a fact. To my opinion, I'm happy to discuss, but in my opinion, it has to be something to do with climate change. And I moved here 10 years ago to Sri Lanka, and just when I arrived and I bought my house and living in the south near Galle, I realized, oh, I have chosen the wrong country. Because there was an article listing, for a lot of reasons, but not what you think. A lot of things, and there was actually that Sri Lanka was ranked number 3 of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. And that had to do with the islands, or the Indian Ocean, etc. Well, if that's true, there are other countries, but certainly we are vulnerable in particular if the temperature of the Indian Ocean warms up. So we should not forget that we all here together have a task that keep in mind. It's also a reduction of pollution. In the last few years, I see actually governments move from the old CO2 greenhouse gases to pollution. In India, go to Delhi, greenhouse gas emissions are not anymore on the list. It's about pollution, and we have many cities, and you will experience it here daily. Pollution, and we have a lot of victims. Only in Southeast Asia, we have around 200,000 people. That's a lot, huh? 200,000 people a year who actually die as a result of pollution. We have also something of reduce of noise pollution, because it's much more silent. Energy security, and meeting the national climate targets and the national determined contribution. Hey, there was always energy security on the list, huh? But we never looked at that. We forgot about it. It was an obligatory thing what we put on the list. It's back on the agenda since 2 weeks. Energy security is the critical aspect of national security and economic stability. Wait into a month. And I was in Gaul 3 days ago, and I thought, do we have again an economic crisis, or is the COVID back? Long lines everywhere. And this morning I was back in Gaul, but that's not another problem. Everybody was waiting to delivery of the gas cylinder. So I felt a little bit of déjà vu this morning, but okay. But it refers to reliability and availability energy resources without disruption. And just so we have suddenly, it's back on the agenda, security and natural gas. And some of the countries we see where electric mobility is really on the top, it has also to do with foreign reserves. Don't underestimate. Oil you pay with dollars, nothing else. So it has to do with foreign reserves, and I tell you, it will become back in the agenda. I stopped changing the graphic because actually I should do it every hour. But it's the last thing, it was 110, it's back to 110. So you make your own calculation what this means for what you are going to pay for gasoline and petrol here at your local petrol station in Sri Lanka. But it can easily go to another 500 or something like that. So that's a little bit to do with security, and this has a big impact, etc. So I know this is about electrical engineering, and maybe you think I speak at the wrong round table. The round table is about oil. No, it is about energy. But you cannot see electricity, energy, without looking at the whole power sector. It's related to each other. So we have to keep that also a little bit in mind. That was a little bit an introduction about keep always the bigger picture. And we live in an uncertain world. And as I always said, I love always scenario making. That's my hobby. Always expect the unexpected. Think out of the box. What happens if? Okay. I don't like to present to you always big graphics, but I found this an interesting one. This is the breakdown of new cars sold in Europe for January 2026. So we don't talk about the total fleet, we talk about what is new. Norway, 94% of any of the new cars sold is electric. And only a few percent is internal combustion engines. So you see the whole list. Why I show you, it's an interesting figure, but the question is we should also try to analyze why in some countries it's very high And other countries, it's very low. It has a reason, of course. By the way, from all these countries, Norway is the biggest oil producer. It's quite interesting. They're number 5th in the world. So how a country that produces oil has oil for free, but it has 94% of all. We have Denmark, Finland, so interesting. The Scandinavian countries, Norway, Denmark. Why in Scandinavia? Why Volvo? We know Volvo brand is already stopped 5 years ago producing any internal combustion engine. So there is a change why they do. Okay, it's all, but it's interesting to see, you can see the powertrains not, but we should better understand, because we can learn something from it, how something happened. And if you look at chargers, yes, I'm originally from the Netherlands, but we recently passed in Europe 1 million public charging points. So that's quite a lot. Okay, Europe is big, etc. The Netherlands is a small country, but if you see, we have in the Netherlands already 200,000 charging points. And the big trend is that nearly all new chargers are fast chargers. And that has a big impact. Fast charging, you can charge in 10 or 15 minutes. The whole charging is interesting. And I made a list. You can see all this, and I don't present some details here. This is not real the comparison of the Netherlands and Sri Lanka, because I live in both countries. It's more to think about. Where is it coming from? So population is not so much difference. 18 on 23 million, that's not big. Okay, the Sri Lanka, I was actually not aware before I saw these figures. It seems to be 2 times bigger than the Netherlands, to my surprise. I thought it was smaller. But then we have the number of public chargers. 200,000 we have in the Netherlands and 200 in Sri Lanka. So that's already a question. Where does it come from? The country is 2 times smaller than Sri Lanka, the Netherlands, and we have 1,000 times more chargers than in Sri Lanka. 1,000 times more chargers. And chargers, it has already mentioned, I cannot stress enough, are very important. You come here all with a mobile phone, with a smartphone. What is it? What is a mobile phone if you cannot charge it? What is a mobile phone if there were no chargers? It was the most useless thing there is. And you know also there's a little bit panic if, oh, my battery is flat. If your battery is flat, I don't think you're going to walk 10 kilometers or drive 10 kilometers to find a socket to plug in your mobile phone. It's around the corner. It should be everywhere. So I was thinking, why is this big difference and how is it? And there are big differences, so don't compare these countries, but it's good to think about where it comes from. One thing I can imagine is Dutch people don't charge at home. That's one thing. They go charge outdoors. That's partly because a lot of people live in apartment buildings. And you cannot take your car upstairs and plug it in. So you can maybe do it in a parking garage. But it's also that you can charge everywhere. You charge at work, because you park your car at work, and employers are obliged to have chargers. So you work, your car is charged, go home and start. Which is the advantage, because here we have a problem in the load pattern where you have this evening loading between 6 and 8, if I'm correct. If people charge on the day, it's not the best, but there is a thought about. When do you charge? If you do shopping. If you go to the supermarket, you have always chargers next to the supermarket. And there was one big chain said, shop with us and charge for free. So you can charge your car for free. Now, you know what happened. One after the other supermarket could not run. So everybody, because you go shopping for 15, 20, 30 minutes and you plug in and your car is charged, especially now with the fast chargers. So you see all these new models. So there isn't a different, I think, mentality. All the highways, every 5 kilometers you can charge. It's not that you have to wait 80 kilometers. And some one of you mentioned it, it's, in the beginning a lot of people didn't want electric vehicles because they were afraid they cannot charge or drive for a long time, if you have enough chargers. So this is interesting to think about what happened. I see the time. So it will boost one electric buses, which are at 60%. We have already 20% of our freight trucks and delivery trucks are electric. That's quite unique. The question is why the Netherlands was, I come as the last. Electric buses, it's common. 75 countries in the world has already electric buses. And 5 days ago, I saw a tender for Chennai electric buses. Not one bus, not 10, not 100. A tender for 1,000 buses. This is the scale. And this is one city. Okay, Chennai, but 1,000 buses. They tender. And this is, for example, in Chile, it's a modern bus depot. And it's happening everywhere in the world. You don't have to go to Europe. South America, Chile is very well. You see the chargers, they are built here up on the racks. And you put your bus and you draw the cable down. Because they want to have it free. And also they built it to, in case of flooding, they think about that. If there's flooding, you never have a problem. Because your chargers are on the second floor and the cabling, etc. You don't have to dig cables in the floor, in concrete. It's easy to maintain. There's a lot to go. I can tell you for hours about electric buses. We don't got to do it, but maybe discuss. It's a big business. In the Netherlands, 65% of all buses are electric. That's quite a lot. By 2013, 100% of all public transport buses will be electric. Last slide, which we definitely going to discuss, is there is a role to play for the government. Because any of these figures I show you, if it's about chargers, about new vehicles, has a relation with the government policies. So there are a lot of incentives. There is a whole package, purchase tax credits, income tax, VAT reductions, vehicle sale. In principle, in Norway, it's nearly, you cannot afford a diesel or petrol car. You know, it's so expensive that you must be actually crazy. So everybody buys an electric car. It's pushing, and the same with such annual road restrictions, incentives for home and public chargers. In the Netherlands, if you are an entrepreneur, a business, for any charger, public charger, you as a private company, you can have a subsidy of $2,000 to $3,000. That's why you get 200,000 of this. And they take the risk, and they give guarantees, they give finance, they give credit lines. Because if the government wants to have a certain policy, they should give also the instruments. So it's very important. Incentives for local manufacturing and other incentives. If you drive an electric car in Norway, you will never pay a fee on toll roads. In cities, electric cars can park for free. Well, and that's in Europe a lot because you pay about $10 per hour to park your car. Zero emission zones. If you go to London, there are large parts of the cities you cannot drive with a diesel car. Diesel cars are prohibited. with an electric car, you have access to every part of the city. With an internal combustion engine, they will be banned in 5 to 10 years. They are prohibited in any city center. So there's changing a lot to promote the whole energy market. My final remark, I think we have also a lot of students here, graduates who are working. Take your study for granted and be blessed with the fact that what was one of the more boring, I think, 10, 20 years ago, industries was electricity. Electricity is something, you put something in a socket and then it works. There is so much happening on in more than in the last 50 years because we completely, so I think you live in an exciting time. There will be work enough and enjoy it. That's what already I want to say. Thank you very much. Sorry for the time.
Thank you very much. Given that the overview about the global picture as well as the comparison of the Netherlands situation with the Sri Lankan situation, now I think it's a time to go for a small break, and there will be the refreshment are served, and also there are the few videos we are going to show from our the sponsors, so that over to you, those who are conducting, so that we'll have a 10-minute break. After the break, we'll continue with the discussion and also the Q&A session with all the panelists, so that I will have a 10-minute break for, you can consider as a commercial break.
While you enjoy our refreshments, there is a QR code on your table which you can scan in order to give a feedback on this event. Thank you.
In the heart of the city stands a marvel of modern architecture, the Havelock City. This sprawling complex is where modern living meets cutting-edge technology. And that's why, from the beginning, we at Trade Promoters Limited, also known as TPL, knew that we had the opportunity to create something truly special at Havelock City. TPL is a leading engineering solutions provider that has been revolutionizing industries for over 40 years. We proudly stand as the only authorized distributor for Sri Lanka and the Maldives for the industry giant Cummins Inc. We're also the exclusive distributor of Schindler in Sri Lanka. Have you had to waste your time waiting several minutes in an elevator lobby? This will not be the case at Havelock City's commercial tower, outfitted with our Schindler 7000 elevators. The building is equipped with Schindler Port technology, a system that revolutionizes the science of optimizing traffic flow through a building while offering personalized service and access control. We believe in every person having hassle-free access to convenience at any moment. The elevator control room features state-of-the-art technology. Equipped with advanced features like the lobby vision monitor and the supervisory panel, we ensure not only a seamless elevator operation, but also a strict adherence to safety standards. Our Schindler 7000 elevators are also equipped with the latest technology, including regen drive units and elevator motors, all housed in a machine room dedicated to offering everyone at Havelock City a comfortable vertical journey. The Schindler S7000 elevator is designed to be fast and efficient, reaching speeds of up to 10 meters per second. The floor indicators in the elevator provide passengers with real-time information about the elevator's speed, ensuring a comfortable and safe ride. TPL also equipped the Havelock City Mall with multiple elevator, escalators and moving walks, all designed to provide easy access to every level of the building. Our technicians and engineers work tirelessly to ensure that our products are functioning at their peak performance. There is no priority higher than the safety of those who travel on our equipment. Every Schindler elevator maintained by TPL undergoes an annual audit under the Schindler Global Safety Program, known as the Confirmation of Periodic Safety Inspections, or CPSI, an industry first. This audit is conducted by TPL's specialized quality department that is independent of the field operations team. One of the key challenges in building a complex of this size is ensuring a reliable power supply. The Havelock City Mall houses 3 units of 2,500 kVA and 4 units of 2,000 kVA Cummins generators to power both the mall and the commercial complex. Notably, TPL accomplished a remarkable task of successfully installing 2 2,500 kVA Cummins generators, each weighing 23 tons, on the 7th floor of the building. The Cummins generators are a critical part of the complex's infrastructure. The generator room features several other components, such as a fresh air intake, exhaust system design and cladding, day fuel tanks, bulk fuel tanks, fuel lines with Racco filter, and synchronizing breaker panel. All of these components work together to ensure a reliable and efficient power supply. Our dedicated technicians regularly monitor and maintain the Cummins generators at Havelock City. Our goal is to provide our customers with peace of mind, knowing that our reliable Cummins generators will seamlessly restore power whenever the grid fails. At TPL, we take great pride in the work that we do, and we're committed to ensuring that our elevators and generators are functioning at their peak performance. The Havelock City project is a testament to our commitment to excellence, and we are proud to be part of it.
Although global crises in energy, environment, health and geopolitics have severely impacted Sri Lanka, self-belief, self-discipline, strong leadership, supported by a smart, locally educated workforce, technocrats and engineers overcame these challenges. Epitomizing these qualities, Lakdanavi rose from small beginnings to become a key provider of energy services to the nation and a strong player in the global energy market. Formed as a fast-track power plant developer in response to the 1996 power crisis, Lakdanavi's very approach was founded on rising to neutralize challenges that threatened Sri Lanka's socio-economic stability. This was followed in quick succession by Heladanavi Power Plant and the flagship 300 megawatt Yukadanavi Power Plant. Lakdanavi is the most trusted one-stop shop for development of power plants as a turnkey developer, taking on the entire development process for both local and international clients. Supported by an innovative and experienced workforce of engineers and managers, known to be one of the best technical and management teams capable of thinking out of the box. It uses unique management strategies and state-of-the-art technologies that are beyond the capabilities of most of its competitors. Lakdanavi is now firmly established as a well-on-track power plant builder as well as an operator assuring round-the-clock power continuity through strong quality, environment and health and safety management strategies. On its own, it has constructed 1,500 megawatts of power plants, which is over half the generation capacity of Sri Lanka. Leveraging the combined capabilities of the Lakdanavi team, it has won projects overseas and displaced global EPC giants due to its ability to take on work under challenging circumstances and deliver on time. Lakdanavi owns, operates and maintains 3 power plants in Bangladesh. Currently, over 65% of Lakdanavi's revenue comes from its overseas installations. Going beyond engineering, Lakdanavi is an expert at arranging finance and arranged over $750 million from leading financial institutes for both local and overseas power plant projects, ultimately achieving one of the highest fiscal and stability ratings, AA+. Underscoring its commitment to excellence, Lakdanavi is internationally certified for quality management, engineering, environment and safety standards, and been recognized for its capabilities as a multi-award-winning company over the last decade. As the world transits from the industrial age to the sustainable age, Lakdanavi was one of the earliest companies to get on board clean energy development and expanded its operations into environment-friendly renewables in mini hydro, wind and solar power plant development. Rounding off the commitment that Lakdanavi has to the well-being of society, it engages engages in a significant number of CSR exercises across the country. In a journey that has already spanned over 25 years, optimizing process, time, resources, manpower, finance, quality engineering, and innovation, Lakdanabi has established itself as a truly Sri Lankan company with a globe-encompassing potency, already reversing the trend of importing that which is questionable and exporting that which is the engineering pride of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a country that is battling wave upon wave of crisis, each with the potential to destroy our nation. In our effort to overcome those, reliable, affordable, safe, sustainable, and durable energy supply is a non-negotiable. Lakdanabi is a key to Sri Lanka's future energy security.
Sri Lanka is entering a new era of mobility across the country. More drivers are choosing electric vehicles, signaling a powerful shift towards cleaner, smarter transportation. But every electric journey depends on something essential: reliable charging infrastructure. As EV adoption accelerates, the need for a dependable nationwide charging network becomes increasingly critical to sustaining this transition. VoltCharge was built with this future in mind. Today, it powers Sri Lanka's largest EV charging network, connecting drivers across the island through 62 fast charging stations, over 2,500 home charging points, and a growing community of 12,000 EV users. From cities to highways, VoltCharge continues to expand the infrastructure that enables Sri Lanka's electric future. VoltCharge, powering the infrastructure behind Sri Lanka's electric future, a subsidiary of JAT Holdings PLC.
Electrical power is life. It's the enabler of opportunities, the sustainer of ideas, the leveler of the playing field, the conductor of innovation, the distributor of knowledge, the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the enlightening. Power is the birther of modern civilization. It energizes hope, ambition, and progress. For you, for the country, for 8.1 billion human beings on Earth. The thirst for power is insatiable, because power is everywhere. It's in everything we do. Everything we need, everything we want, everything we will ever achieve will be empowered by power, electrical power. And no one understands power like we do. We generate, innovate, distribute, maintain, purpose and repurpose the entire ecosystem of power. Pioneers for over 40 years. So, as the world switches on a new era of renewable, clean, sustainable power, we are in the front line, transforming the landscapes of tomorrow into fields of power fertility. Because if power is life, then we are its lifeline. LTL Holdings.
For 5 decades, Trade Promoters Private Limited has stood at the forefront of engineering solutions in Sri Lanka. what began as a single partnership driven by vision and determination has grown into one of the nation's most diversified engineering organizations. Built on passion, strengthened by commitment, and guided by a relentless pursuit of excellence. Across industries, across communities, our solutions power businesses, strengthen infrastructure, and support the systems that keep Sri Lanka moving forward. From powering industries, hospitals, and hospitality sector, to enabling the safe and efficient movement of people through modern buildings and transportation systems, Trade Promoters Limited delivers engineering solutions that support Sri Lanka every day. Our journey has been shaped by partnerships with some of the world's most respected engineering brands. Global leaders such as Cummins and Schindler represent decades of trust, performance, and engineering excellence. Alongside them, internationally recognized brands including Lovol, Fleetguard, Tonino Lamborghini Golf Cart, Cummins Onan, Bell, and SmartGen allow us to bring world-class engineering solutions to industries across Sri Lanka. Today, TPL operates as a multi-industry engineering solutions provider, delivering expertise across sectors including power generation, vertical transportation, construction and heavy machinery, filtration systems, railway engineering solutions, advanced energy storage, water and fuel storage solutions, fire protection systems, waste management, electric mobility, and sports and leisure ventures. As our presence continues to grow, so does our commitment to customers across the island. The TPL Experience Center in Jaffna brings world-class engineering solutions closer to the northern region, while the Kurunegala Service Hub strengthens our ability to deliver faster service, technical expertise, and reliable support nationwide. Beyond Sri Lanka, our vision continues to expand. Through Electrify Maldives, we deliver advanced power generation and waste management solutions, supporting sustainable infrastructure.
We invite all of you to return back to your seats to start round 2.
Global partnerships, enabling closer collaboration with international manufacturers and technology innovators. Behind every product, every project, and every partnership is a team of more than 440 dedicated professionals. From engineering to service to logistics, projects, operations, finance, and customer support, their expertise ensures that every solution delivered by Trade Promoters Limited meets the highest standards of reliability, performance, and trust. At TPL, our culture is just as important as our capability. Through celebrations such as the annual staff party, the TPL Cricket Fiesta, TPL Avulu celebrations, and Women's Day events, we celebrate the people who make our journey possible. As industries evolve and new technologies transform the world around us, we continue to strengthen our capabilities, expand our partnerships, and explore new opportunities to serve our customers better. Because our future is defined not only by the solutions we deliver, but by the impact we create. Trade Promoters Limited, 50 years of excellence. Engineering trust, powering progress.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed your refreshments. We now transition to the Q&A session and the discussion.
To facilitate this segment, we once again hand over the stage to our moderator, Professor Asanga Rodrigo, to lead the dialogue.
As a director. Okay, I think while having your refreshment, I think I will proceed with our Q&A session. Now I think we got a very good idea about this electric mobility and the charging infrastructure as well as the energy storages. Again, I will start up with Beshan. Dr. Beshan, now you talk about the EV and the charging infrastructure, but there is a very high dispute where when you have the 52% in western province, whereas other areas are very limited. So that in terms of the policy perspective, how we can avoid this situation and also as a private sector, so what type of activities we can do to make the people, make sure that they have the charging infrastructure.
Thank you. Very good question, Professor. So at the moment, there is a lot of activity that is going on to invest and install chargers in the east and the north as well as the Bandara, Badulla sort of areas where we have very little coverage. So one of the hurdles is the investment, obviously, because when the numbers are low, when there are less vehicles in a certain area, your returns will be longer because there's going to be less usage, obviously. So in that sense, we privately ourselves are investing on 100 chargers to cover the north and the east. We believe by end of June, the first 2 quarters, we should be able to install all of these. Now, trying to install the charger even when we have an investment on board is a hard task because finding a location, a location with power is also another issue where some of these areas that are rural won't have 3-phase sometimes. Not at a home, you would have to get a new connection. The transformers are so widely located, so sometimes the areas doesn't have 60 ampere 3-phase. So there are challenges like this. Then from a policy point of view, we have always had this challenge where one physical location can have only 1 meter. If you want to have a second connection, then you have to have a different lease agreement for a small block of land or something in the same property, and then you would get another connection. But then also there is a challenge where if the property has 3-phase already, they most of the time will not give you a second connection, a second 3-phase connection, especially at 60 amperes. So that really slows down the installation of chargers. I think from a policy point of view, this is what we always request is to make that process much simpler because that will speed us up. The government should not be in the business of putting chargers or business of running charging networks. I think the private sector has shown that we can do this really well at very low costs and have the service expectation of the drivers. But getting us the power and the connection is what we always request. And this is not just from Volcharge, but you talk to all of the other vendors, this is one of the biggest problems.
As a quick follow-up question, now you said there are different vendors and different their charging infrastructures as well. Now, even I heard India also going common infrastructure, where no matter whatever the service provider, you will get a common infrastructure. What is the perspective about common infrastructure implementing in Sri Lanka?
A very timely question. I think we had a discussion with Mr. Buddhika and the team, Mr. Ruan as well, former CEB, now NSO is the right term, on how we can make sure that the vendors are interconnected in the back end. So right now, if you own an electric vehicle, you would have to install about 10 or 11 mobile apps. Each charging network will have their own app. And you might not know that there's a charger right next to this building because you might not have that app or you didn't check it, right? There is no way to know. You would go to your favorite app and then you would know the charges that are, a little bit further away, but it might be just one next to it from a different vendor. So to interconnect these charging networks, there is a global API called OCPI that has the protocols and widely used in the European markets and now in India as well. So we have enabled an independent entity called EV Charging Hub. Although VoltCharge is spearheading this, we don't intend to own this entity. We want all of the vendors to be part of it, and we spoke to Minister of Energy as well. We want them to be part of this entity as well, where we have an independent interconnect system in the back end, so that if you have one app, you can charge at any charging point, regardless of who operates that charger. So that way you know the real-time status of the charger, where the chargers are from a single app. So that really levels the game, and it helps the small players as well. So if you are just one independent owner who just bought a charger and have it open to the customers, you might not have the marketing or the the high tech to get that charger out to the EV users. But if it's independent, if there is a backend that connects everybody, your charger will also pop up on everybody's app. So we want to push this through. So we are at the stage of trying to get the government on board. There are a few private entities that have already signed up. So that is an ongoing process.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bishan, for that nice explanation. Now I move into the Buddhika, Engineer Buddhika. Now you talk about the duck curve, and now the duck curve is even further changing. And also, but in the same time, we are getting even excess energy in the daytime. So that as the system operator, now you are facing a huge problem, not only the system violation in terms of the frequency, and also the the even excess energy which creates the frequency instability. Now as a NSO and also earlier as a CEB, so that what type of activities as per your the thinking we can do to at least mitigate this option by using electric mobility?
Yeah, actually I am not specifying the EV as a vehicle, because we have to consider it as a storage system. Now when you look at as a storage system, our grid code as well as the new energy policy, everything, it try to promote the installation of storage systems mainly to, that means to support as a grid support system. That means now with the, when we integrate more renewable energy into the system, that means now also we are very much difficulty keeping our dispatchable generation at 700 megawatt. That means definitely we have to get the other grid support system, that means ancillary support systems through a battery energy storage system. Maybe EV charging may not support for that kind of thing. Definitely we have to go for a frequency controlling, that means the high ramp rate supporting battery energy storage systems in parallelly to overcome these excess energy situation. Now with the integration of more and more renewable energy, because we have to achieve the government objective, as well as we have to, now when we curtail the renewable energy power plants, actually now presently we are curtailing all the power plants we integrate into the system through the competitive bidding process. Now that's not an economical viable meritorious dispatch we are doing at present. That means whatever the power plants we control is the power plants we interconnect into the system as through the competitive bidding process. Now for the sake of that particular power plants, normally their energy cost is around 15 Sri Lankan rupees. Now if we can promote this EV charging during the excess energy time, that means maybe during the weekday daytime as well as Saturdays and Sundays also there, then we have to have maybe through a special tariff scheme for the EV charging or whatever the thing. And now nearly, I think around the capacity is around this particular car is around 60 kilowatt. Now there are a lot of cars now. That means around 150 megawatt, nearly 150 megawatt, this EV charging battery system is available outside the electrical system. Now we have to find the method to take that battery system into our power system in an appropriate time slot. Now without that, if we do not go for that kind of thing, we will worsen our peak, evening peak. Then definitely we have to go for the thermal generation. But from the system control point of view and NSO point of view, our main objective is to promote this EV charging as a, then we can consider as a grid to vehicle, but as a grid support system. And our overall cost we can minimize that. Why? Mainly we are curtailing the power plants which are we integrated through the competitive bidding process. That means government can give a very good competitive charging price for that particular time slot.
So again, as a follow-up question, is there any hope where the government is going to take some kind of a incentive based the charging tariff for the daytime customers?
Yes, according to my understanding, committee has submitted a proposal to the ministry, and I think ministry will submit to the PUCSL for the approval. It's having a very good charging price for the EV vehicles during the daytime operation.
Yeah, thank you. So that it's, I think, very good news for the EV users. And again, okay, I will move into the Hazid, so that now we can start from where the Buddhika stop, the EV to grid. So that now that option is available and people are talking about that is as a very feasible option where the V2G type of thing and the V2 home as well. So that now you are also in the e-mobility business, so that we are getting different type of electric vehicles to the Sri Lanka. So, all the EVs are not supporting this. So that as I know. So that why it is not there in the EVs which are imported to Sri Lanka, and if there are any difficulty of getting those type of vehicles to the Sri Lanka, or is there any policy directive is needed for you to promote that type of facility? Because at the moment the people are not using it as a grid supportive system.
Yes, Professor, even we looked at and we are trying to actively promote this as an alternative to hybrid solar system in a residence, for example, because you have to invest in a battery. But instead of investing in a battery, which you might, at the moment, there are no incentives for battery usage, because the tariff system is flat for residents. But like Engineer Buddhika mentioned, that when time comes, there will be a time of use tariff system. With that, there will be a lot of encouragement and incentives for residents to use the hybrid system, like in developed countries like Netherlands and in Australia and in Europe. When it comes to vehicles, so far nobody has used or nobody has requested. We are contemplating how to encourage this. So that's going to be a new thinking, which has been happening elsewhere in the world. And most of the vehicles have this capability, Prof. And also some of the vehicle owners, because now they are unable to get the clearance for the on-grid systems. You know that when 10 customers apply, only 5 customers get the clearance for solar on-grid systems. So most of the customers go off-grid. So they are looking at ways of charging vehicles directly from PV to the battery. So V2L is available. It has not been actively promoted and actively implemented. That's an option that can be promoted easily. So they don't have to go for a hybrid system. They can go for an electric vehicle and a PV system to have renewable energy to charge the battery during the daytime, like you mentioned, and during the night time or a power cut time, they can use the battery to power the house.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Hasid. Then I'll move to the Guido. So that you mentioned a very interesting side, the slide about comparing the Netherlands situation to the Sri Lankan situation. So that we saw that they have gone for something like the 200,000 chargers, and also 60% of the buses, public buses are EV. So now compared to Sri Lanka, okay, why Sri Lanka is, as per your judgment, why Sri Lanka is lagging behind, and also as a government, or is there any policy directive where we can implement to promote that type of situation? What is the real root cause in Sri Lanka are not moving towards that type of situation?
Well, before I go in detail in your question, first there is the chicken and the egg problem you addressed already. If there are not enough electric cars sold, then the chargers are behind, because you only put chargers if there are enough electric cars. And it's the other way around also, of course. Not enough chargers, then not enough cars. So there's finding this balance, and there is a momentum where it will grow. I definitely think there is another momentum now, because there are more electric cars coming, so the chargers will pick up. And the more chargers, the more interesting it will be to buy an electric car. To your question, and you mentioned especially Sri Lanka, so I need to mind my words. Living here for 10 years, for several sectors, I saw one thing which I admire Sri Lanka is that they have always very good policy documents. And you know already what I'm going to say. The translation from the policy documents to implementation or action, sorry, I don't want to be too rude, but is weak. Let's face it, let's be honest, because they are very nice, and how to translate. So actually there's a weak, and it's part implementation capacity. For the electric mobility, it's even more difficult, because who is responsible for it? It's siloed. This is not unusual, I see it in other countries, because who take the lead? Minister of Transport? It's mobility. No, it's about electricity, so it's a Ministry of Power and Energy. No, there's a Ministry of Environment, says we need to look into this climate goal. So you get already this siloed approach. And then we want incentives, and then the Minister of Finance wants also to be on the table, because it has to be about tax, etc. So there are many stakeholders, which doesn't make easy. This is not unique for Sri Lanka. So what they did in some countries, they had not a round table, but they have this task force where all the stakeholders are sitting on the table. And if I talk on the table, they call it a task force. There is a difference. A task force has to deliver. A commission is a gathering of people drinking tea, we say always. So no commissions, we need task force purely. So they bring all the stakeholders from the government side, all the ministries, together with the industry, and they're sitting, let's say, once 2 weeks on the table. And the government asks the private sector, can I help you something with? I have a problem with power connections, with cable, with, as you mentioned. And it's the other way around. It's both sides. And there is a continue, and in Holland, I think it was called Formula E from electric. And that was the task force. And they were having targets. By the end of the year, we want to have this amount of chargers. If not managed, then accountability comes in, which is also an issue in Sri Lanka. Accountability, say we agreed on something and you are held to be accountable. Both sides, again, private sector, as well as the government. So it starts already at a very high level to organize how you want to bring things forward. And I think that's why some of these countries are, I showed you the Netherlands, but also the Scandinavian countries, where they had this really task force where everybody on the table with a common goal to implement. I think that's where it starts, sitting together, stakeholders, talk to each other, how I can help you, you can help me, bringing problems, saying we have not power connections, or the distribution network, there are issues. On a very constructive way with respect to everybody's mindset, but also vision and interest, because the private sector clearly has a different interest as the government. And the government has to take a lead. Any of these countries, because you just asked me, why is Croatia the last? Because the government has no interest or doesn't take the lead. This kind of transformation doesn't happen, of course, not overnight, but also not if the government is not steering or giving directions and support. And the Netherlands, we had Scandinavia also. There were a lot of measures taken to stimulate. There was for a long time, you get a $5,000 US subsidy if you buy an electric car. And the budget was $200 million. The problem, in 1 month, the budget was gone. So they had to go back to the cabinet and to the parliament to get it on, because it was very successful. Same for chargers. Home chargers are subsidized, but also the public chargers, the companies could have a subsidy. I don't say that you always have to subsidize, but even if it would be $5, it shows the commitment of a government to recognize it's important and see where they can support. It's not about the absolute money, but it shows that the government is supporting the sector.
Yeah, thank you. So I think even in Sri Lanka, we can find out many examples where the government intervention make a big transition. As example, in 2009, even for the solar PV, so that we are the net metering, introducing net metering and supporting it, and then in 2016, like introducing new additional scheme is the result where we are getting this much of solar because of this net accounting, because it's a government intervention. So you are very correct. So that thank you very much for that one, and I think I can open up the stage to the audience, so that where you can raise whatever the question or the suggestions about this topic, and I can give you can introduce by yourself, and then you can, if you want to direct the question for a particular panelist, you can direct it, or even for the commonly for all the panelists also you can direct the question. So that over to the audience, so that if you have any questions where you want to raise to the panelists, you can raise it now.
Thank you very much, Franka. I don't know, Mr. Guido, whether you read my mind. When he was asking the question, I wrote here, chicken and the egg. When I started writing that, you were saying chicken and the egg. So that says it all. So coming back to the chicken and the egg, starting from there, I heard both Beshan as well as Hasit, coming from the private sector, speaking about this chicken and the egg, and where does it start? It start from nowhere. I'd like to go back several decades back, where I and Tilak were discussing when the energy systems module was launched, somewhere in 90s or mid-90s. At that time, we were introducing energy systems. We were talking about, I was in particular talking about integrated energy planning. we're all talking about, I think, especially Guido, that I was here only for your intervention as well as Hasitas. You're talking of an energy problem. And here we have a classic case. As you very correctly said, we have the gilt-edged policies, seldom put into action. Being an expatriate, you didn't want to say the truth. I can say the truth. Rarely put into action. Yeah, the best of policies, never or very hard to put into action. We have a very classic case where we throw out zero cost energy. Energy, yeah? I'm not talking about the cost. Zero cost energy, curtailing all the renewables that are put into place, spending millions of dollars, unable to find a user. And I think possibly Buddhika was trying to get at it. And here we have a problem of maybe so many 100,000, I don't know how many vehicles are there, EV, needing that happy hour. If you understand what happy hour means, in supermarkets, in the evening pubs, they're happy hour because just to attract the stray people who would like to go for a beer at the odd hour. So we have odd hour. That odd hour with zero cost energy going a begging. So it's a matter of planning, implementing that policy. We are happy that that policy is now out, possibly a week or week and a half ago. Let that work for us. Let us get back to this integrated energy planning which we threw out of the window, saying, I was told to my face, you forget about your integrated energy planning. I stopped teaching. That day I stopped teaching. The market forces will take up. Now, where is that market force? In certain things, say shirts, shoes, sugar, perhaps things will work on market forces. But there are certain things that have to be carefully planned and implemented with a good, clear objective of optimizing our resources for the best use. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shah Fernando, for that the wording. I think it's not a question. Anybody wants to reply? Buddhika, as a representative utility, you can talk about this integrated energy planning and how we can move forward with this policy, integrated energy planning policy.
Yeah, actually, I think this new electricity policy, I think it is not directly mentioned as the EV vehicles or anything. It's clearly mentioned as how to minimize the curtailment, that means the excess energy. Then that's the way forward we have to think, as I think Mr. Shaikanand also explained, we are having, it's actually a zero cost energy. Okay, we may have to pay something, but we are now curtailing, according to the PPAs, we are not paying anything because we have to pay whatever the energy they have delivered to the system. Now actually it's a zero energy cost energy we are curtailing. Now best thing is we have to find the method to utilize that for the charging of the electric vehicle. And government, I think through this term of use tariff structure, they will go for some promotional incentivized tariff scheme for the EV charging. I think with that we can first, as an introductory mechanism, with that I think we can move forward for the EV mobility. And I think in our grid code or the energy policy, we are looking forward how to operate the system in least cost economical manner. Now with the present operation principles, we are not operating as the least cost economical dispatch. Okay, we use the thermal power plants as the economical dispatch, but all the other power plants, whatever the way, now our main concern is how to safeguard the system. Now that's the first priority, but our other objective should be how to minimize the overall cost to the consumer. I think this EV mobility would be the most advantage, and other thing is that will be invested by a completely another party.
Thank you. I think Dr. J.R. Gamage,
thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm from academic from University of Moratuwa. My question goes to Beshan. I was listening to you, I was noting down your statistics of 2025 EV hybrid and EV registrations. Now 60,000 plus, right? Half is scooters, so let the half aside. Out of the balance 30, let's say 30,000, 18,000 goes to petrol hybrid. And only 7,000 you mentioned as pure electric vehicles. Now, my question is, by increasing the petrol hybrid, you don't need EV chargers, right? So pure electric vehicle, why, by increasing the charging points, do you think, is that the only case that you think you can increase the pure EVs, or do you expect what kind of exponential or increase in number of registration in 2026, considering the current political or other war situation in the world? And if you have a number in your mind, now this 60,000 does not contain 2025 ICE engines, normal cars, ICE engine cars. What is that number? So just to have an idea of the Sri Lankan consumer mindset on pure EVs. Still, because my point of view also, there's a lagging. I don't think it's only the charging facility, but there are other factors. I would like to shed your ideas about that.
Interesting question. Early on in last year, June, July timeframe, even August, Atto 3 from BYD was the hot selling car, and it was a pure electric. In the first 2-3 quarters, it was just pure electrics that were getting sold. The Sea Lion 6, which is the hybrid version, it was randomly, not many people were buying it. Because the Atto 3 is cheaper to drive, it's only about 4 rupees per kilometer, maybe less if you have solar at home, whereas a petrol car would cost, much more. But then the customs issue came on, where the pure electrics were not getting cleared through customs due to the power on the plate of the motor at 100 kilowatts or 150 kilowatt problem. And I don't think that problem is yet, it's not solved yet. It's still in the legal system and going through its phases. It's getting delayed by every possible excuse is thrown at it. So we still don't have a clear way forward on that. So the private sector wouldn't just wait and watch. They would bring, the next vehicle that is possible. So a bunch of other hybrid models were bought in. And then the Atto 1, the low power electric vehicles were also bought in. In the same time, Browns brought in the BAW electric vehicles. They cost much less. And I think Haley's is also bringing in 7 million, you said, is the entry point, yes. So, the smaller electric segment is still growing, I think, in the pure electric side. But on the medium to higher tier electric vehicles have moved to the hybrids because of the customs issue. So there is a need for government intervention, either through changing of code or some sort of a change to solve this problem. There is no point just waiting for an answer for years and years. So if that gets fixed, I think there will be a push to get back into electrics. People now understand that driving electric is much, much cheaper. At the end of the day, although we like to look at from the renewable side of things or green energy sort of thing, for Sri Lankan context, it's always about price. And 5 years ago, it was also about brand as well. We were buying Honda or Toyotas at a rate and were not, into the Chinese vehicles. But these days, there are so many Chinese brands that I don't even know how to name it anymore. Jaiku to BYD to BAWs to, various models. And people are not very worried about buying a brand that they have never heard of. So that is also, I feel it's a good thing to see. But does it have enough warranty and service maintenance? Those are the problems that, that we should look into to make sure that this market doesn't destabilize. It takes only one brand to bring, a company to bring a vehicle that is not supported, and everybody will get worried about electric vehicles. So that is also one point I like to make in this whole story. So if you look at that from an entry point, there are many players now than last year. I think they will also ramp up. Everybody is getting their service centers up, more showrooms up in different areas. So I think that will help to bring more electrics into the country. They might be in the lower tier models, and some of them might not have fast charging, and that is also something that we need to look at, because they are mostly city-driven sort of vehicles. They will use home chargers and AC charging points, something that we are installing at apartments, offices, and parking spaces and things like that. So all of that has to come into play to make it work. But we were at a very healthy rate in August, in June, July, August last year. And due to this whole issue, things dipped down. Hopefully, we'll have some answers, and this year would be much more futuristic looking rather than being very defensive.
Can I add one point? The one major reason which you missed is that loan to value ratio. So when the BYD came up with electric, the loan to value ratio, that means when you obtain a vehicle loan or a lease, you can't finance 100% through a loan. So there is a percentage that the bank can give under the central bank regulations. So it was 60% or 50% for an ICE vehicle and 90% for an electric vehicle. Now it has brought down to 50. So when a consumer look at how much money should I get from the bank for an ICE vehicle and electric vehicle, is the same. So only 50% you can finance for either vehicle. But earlier, in the last year, it was 90%. So that's why there was a boom for electric vehicles than the ICE and hybrid. That is one reason. The other reason, taking your Auto 3 example, we also have a similar vehicle, that is Omoda E5, but we bring it with the right motor capacity, 155 kilowatt. So our price point is 19 million rupees, whereas BYD managed to sell it at 14 million, 15 million rupees. So that price point also matters a lot. Our vehicle is not moving at all, so we are discontinuing that vehicle. Because at that price, you have so many other options, which are hybrid and ICE vehicles. Why should the consumer buy an electric vehicle at a higher price? So there's the price gap, price parity is not equal. So when it comes to 100 kilowatt for motor, that price point was very attractive to a consumer than going for an ICE vehicle. So those two disparity made the pure electric to come down. So this year, I was just sharing the statistics. Last year it was 10% of the vehicles. This year it's only 4%. For the January, February, pure electric is only 4%. So just to give you the statistics, last year there were 68,000 passenger cars registered. Out of that, 7,000 was the pure electric. But this year, pure electric is only 4% out of 22,000 registered with January and February months.
Yeah, I think in order to add, even in the few days back, we got a news, government is importing large number of IC engine buses. So we are talking about the e-mobility and everything, but I think you may also saw that news. So the large number of the IC new, the low height IC engines. So that now I think we are almost came to the end of the discussion, but I can give one more chance to the audience. So if there are any questions or any the clarification you want to raise, okay, I can give you one. Yeah, even I think we have large number of students also, so that if you want to raise any question from the panelists, you can raise it now, or anybody. So, one last question.
Now, when you take a pure electric battery user, I'm owning a first generation Nissan Leaf, so I have been using it. But one issue is, that we are using these fast chargers less because of the high cost of charging, 140 rupees plus. Whereas if you charge at home, maximum block charge is 55 rupees, even if you are using above 180. And if you are with rooftop solar, you're almost charging free of charge. So I think therefore we use, as a user, we use these fast chargers less and charge as much as possible at home. I think that is a negative point in encouraging these people who are maintaining networks. So what are the reasons behind this high unit cost for charging of vehicles?
Very valid question. I want to say that as a Leaf owner, we are supporting all of the charging units that we are installing with CharDemo, so you get to drive anywhere in the country using the older Leafs as well. So in terms of the pricing, if you look at the current return on your investment for a fast charger, for a rural area, it would take about 2 to 3 years sort of a time frame. Whereas in Colombo, if you have a charger, it might be 1 year or less even sometimes. And it really depends on the amount of vehicles that come into the charging station. So from an investor point of view, this number is where we have settled at the moment, because for somebody to invest on a electrical equipment that has a limited warranty and limited lifetime, it's not like you're investing on a piece of property or something that you will always have. Whereas you're putting about 3.5 million, if it's a 80 kilowatt, you're putting down about 4 million even or more. So that return has to be generated. So we see that when the number is lower, that we really can't push a fast charger into the market for somebody to purchase it. Of course, from a network operator's point of view, we are investing chargers also to make sure that that our charging network is right throughout the country. But still, for us also to invest in the rural areas, we need to make sure that our returns are there. Otherwise, it becomes financially, not stable enough to operate like that. So that is one thing. When you take the Nissan Leafs, for example, because of the older batteries, this will be true for many EVs to come. The charging becomes slower. So a vehicle will be plugged into the charger for a long time, charging at a lower kilowatt rate. So your revenue also comes down now because we are charging customer based on the kilowatt hours. Earlier in the 2016, 2017, even up till about 2020, we were charging customers based on time. So it doesn't matter if you're a earlier generation or a newer vehicle. If you are plugged in for 30 minutes, you would have to pay an X amount of money. So that was unfair for the earlier generation vehicles because they would get only a few kilowatts but still be charged at a time-based tariff system on the charger. So we also got rid of that. So that also affected our returns, to be very honest. because now it's not predictable. Our returns are based on who's coming to our charging station. So there's a mix of things that really happen. But in general, the pricing is based on the investment. Now, if there is a subsidiary system that the government or some entity can provide on the charges, then we can take the investment part out of this equation and then look at the pricing. But until then, we have to make sure that our investors are safe to invest on charges. Early 2016, when this whole thing started, there were a few companies who bought in the charger from China directly and got the price very, very low. They gave charging at 80 rupees or something, and it really made the market very unstable. I know Hasit might not agree with me because on the solar front, you all saw positives in that. But on the charging front, what we saw was that these inferior charging units would then not work in 6 months later, and then the whole market would collapse. We had that experience in 2016. There were a number of companies who bought in a charger called CETEC, and those chargers are still, you can see one at the highway exit point, the highway point, whatever sorry? Yes, yeah, at the highway where the restaurants are, there is still a CETEC charger there that is currently not operational because it was one of those early chargers that really broke the market. So right now, things are back to a more stable front. The equipment that people bring in from China are better than what it was before. So there is that kind of a dynamic as well where, all these vendors must survive. Although we want to compete, we want to make sure that our competition also survives, because if not, then people lose trust on the chargers and the charging network.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we came to the end of this roundtable conference. I think thank you all the panelists sharing your knowledge and the experiences in this the subject matter. And we discussed a very timely, important area in the 2026 roundtable conference. So thank you all for the participation. I will hand over the floor to our peers. So that over to you. I think thanks again for your participation.
As we wrap up this insightful roundtable discussion, we would like to acknowledge the industry leaders who made the Roundtable Conference 2026 a reality.
First, we recognize our diamond partner, Trade Promoters Limited. Please pay attention to the screen.
For 5 decades, Trade Promoters Private Limited has stood at the forefront of engineering solutions in Sri Lanka. What began as a single partnership driven by vision and determination has grown into one of the nation's most diversified engineering organizations. Built on passion, strengthened by commitment, and guided by a relentless pursuit of excellence. Across industries, across communities, our solutions power businesses, strengthen infrastructure, and support the systems that keep Sri Lanka moving forward. From powering industries, hospitals, and hospitality sector, to enabling the safe and efficient movement of people through modern buildings and transportation systems, Trade Promoters Limited delivers engineering solutions that support Sri Lanka every day. Our journey has been shaped by partnerships with some of the world's most respected engineering brands. Global leaders such as Cummins and Schindler represent decades of trust, performance, and engineering excellence. Alongside them, internationally recognized brands including Lovol, Fleetguard, Tonino Lamborghini Golf Cart, Cummins Onan, Bell, and SmartGen allow us to bring world-class engineering solutions to industries across Sri Lanka. Today, TPL operates as a multi-industry engineering solutions provider, delivering expertise across sectors including power generation, vertical transportation, construction and heavy machinery, filtration systems, railway engineering solutions, advanced energy storage, water and fuel storage solutions, fire protection systems, waste management, electric mobility, and sports and leisure ventures. As our presence continues to grow, so does our commitment to customers across the island. The TPL Experience Center in Jaffna brings world-class engineering solutions closer to the northern region, while the Kurunegala Service Hub strengthens our ability to deliver faster service, technical expertise, and reliable support nationwide. Beyond Sri Lanka, our vision continues to expand. Through Electrify Maldives, we deliver advanced power generation and waste management solutions, supporting sustainable infrastructure for island communities. Meanwhile, TPL Singapore strengthens our global partnerships, enabling closer collaboration with international manufacturers and technology innovators. Behind every product, every project, and every partnership is a team of more than 440 dedicated professionals. From engineering to service to logistics, projects, operations, finance, and customer support, their expertise ensures that every solution delivered by Trade Promoters Limited meets the highest standards of reliability, performance, and trust. At TPL, our culture is just as important as our capability. Through celebrations such as the annual staff party, the TPL Cricket Fiesta, TPL Avulu celebrations, and Women's Day events, we celebrate the people who make our journey possible. As industries evolve and new technologies transform the world around us, we continue to strengthen our capabilities, expand our partnerships, and explore new opportunities to serve our customers better. Because our future is defined not only by the solutions we deliver, but by the impact we create. Trade Promoters Limited, 50 years of excellence. Engineering trust, powering progress.
Similarly, we acknowledge our strategic partner, LTL Holdings, and please turn your attention to the screen once more.
Power, electrical power, is life. It's the enabler of opportunities, the sustainer of ideas, the leveler of the playing field, the conductor of innovation, the distributor of knowledge, the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the enlightening. Power is the birther of modern civilization. It energizes hope, ambition, and progress. For you, for the country, for 8.1 billion human beings on Earth. The thirst for power is insatiable because power is everywhere. It's in everything we do. Everything we need, everything we want, everything we will ever achieve will be empowered by power, electrical power. And no one understands power like we do. We generate, innovate, distribute, maintain, purpose and repurpose the entire ecosystem of power. Pioneers for over 40 years. So, as the world switches on a new era of renewable, clean, sustainable power, we are in the front line, transforming the landscapes of tomorrow into fields of power fertility. Because if power is life, then we are its lifeline. LTL Holdings.
We also wish to express our gratitude to our silver partners, Vidyalanka Private Limited, BYD, and World Charge Sri Lanka.
Our appreciation further extends to our associate partners, Slam Power Solutions and Haley's Mobility, our support partner, Lanka Electricity Company, our mobility partner, PickMe, and our banking partner, Hatton National Bank.
It is now time to express our heartfelt gratitude. We move to the felicitation ceremony to recognize the brilliant minds who have shared their invaluable time and expertise with us today.
To present these tokens of appreciation, we would humbly invite the head of the Department of Electrical Engineering, Professor Buddhika Jayasekara, to join us on stage.
We also invite Dr. Asara Samarasinghe to the stage to present the special gift packages prepared by LTL Holdings for our distinguished panelists. As we call your names, we invite our esteemed panelists to step forward to receive these tokens of our appreciation.
Dr. Bishan Kulapala, for your visionary insights into the future of Sri Lankan mobility. Engineer Buddhika Samarasekara, for providing Engineer Buddhika Samarasekara for providing the vital utility perspective from the heart of our power system.
Mr. Hasit Prematilaka for sharing the industrial strength and strategic vision of the private sector. And Mr. Guido Brueggemann for bringing a global perspective to our urban transit challenges.
And finally, we invite our moderator, Professor Asanka Rodrigo, to accept a special token of appreciation for masterfully steering today's dialogue. As we near the end of today's program, it is time to express our gratitude to every individual, partner, and organizer who made this flagship event possible.
We now invite the EESoc Secretary, Ketara D. Alves, to the podium to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It is my great privilege to deliver the vote of thanks at the conclusion of this insightful Roundtable Conference 2026. I'm Getara D. Alvis, Secretary of the Electrical Engineering Society for the year 2025-2026. First and foremost, on behalf of the Electrical Engineering Society, I wish to express our deepest gratitude to our chief guest, Honorable Professor Krishanta Abesena, Minister of Science and Technology, for gracing this occasion with his esteemed presence. It is truly an honor for us to have him with us today. Our sincere appreciation goes to our distinguished panelists, Professor Beshan Kulapala, Engineer Hasit Premathilaka, Engineer Buddhika Samarasekara, and Mr. Guido Brueggemann. Thank you for sharing your valuable expertise, perspectives, and industry experience which greatly enriched today's discussion. A special note of appreciation goes to the moderator of today's roundtable session, Professor Asanka Rodrigo, for skillfully guiding the discussion and facilitating a meaningful exchange of ideas among the panelists. I would also like to respectfully acknowledge the presence of the head of the Department of Electrical Engineering and the academic staff of the Department of Electrical Engineering, along with all the distinguished invitees who graced this occasion. This event would not have been possible without the generous support of our valued sponsors. We sincerely thank LTL Holdings for joining us as our strategic partner, Trade Promoters Limited as our diamond partner, and Volcharge Sri Lanka, BYD, and Vidul Lanka as our silver partners. We also extend our appreciation to Slam Power Solutions and Haley's Mobility as our associate partners, LECO as our support partner, HNB as our banking partner, and PICME as our mobility partner, for their valuable support in making RTC 26 a success. A special word of appreciation goes to the leadership of EESoc, our president, Dr. Rasara Samarasinghe, and our senior treasurer, Engineer Therash Mila Lasangani, for their guidance and encouragement throughout the organization of this event. I would also like to acknowledge the dedication of our EESoc vice presidents, our own batchmates, Samod Dharmaraja and Shashindu Dilhara, along with all the other members of the EESoc Executive Committee and the Board of Directors, whose commitment and teamwork made this conference possible. A special appreciation goes to the event co-chairs from Electrical Engineering Batch 23, Hasini Vitanage, Yasiru Pramod, and Ridma Jayaladge for their outstanding leadership and dedication in organizing RTC 26. Our sincere thanks also go to the organizing committee members from the undergraduate students of the Department of Electrical Engineering, University of Moratuwa, who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to bring this event together. We would also like to extend our sincere thanks to our event hosts, Lasini and Hiran, for conducting today's program so gracefully and professionally. Also, we are grateful to Marino Beach, Colombo for their excellent hospitality and support in hosting this event. Finally, I would like to thank all the participants and attendees for your presence and active engagement, which truly made today's discussion meaningful and impactful. Before we conclude, we warmly invite all of you to join us for the fellowship night, which will officially commence at around 6:30 p.m., where we hope you will enjoy a relaxing evening of networking, conversation, and fellowship. Once again, thank you all for being a part of Roundtable Conference 26. So have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
With that, we officially come to the conclusion of Roundtable Conference 2026.
Now, we warmly invite all of you to join us for the evening tea and coffee, and our ushering team will be guiding you through.
As you enjoy your refreshments, we invite you to explore our final year project demonstrations. These exhibits represent the innovation and hard work of the next generation of engineers from our department. Our Shrin team is available to guide you through the exhibition area to ensure you experience all the groundbreaking work on display. Thank you for being a part of RTC 26. We wish you a wonderful evening ahead.
Thank you
and enjoy the night.